Good morning, everybody, and welcome once again to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. And here we go. It's going to be I hope, a great show. We'll see how it all goes. It's good to see you guys this morning in the chat room. Wow, it shows we've got 18 live chatters this morning. So good morning to Andrea, Clarona, DeMazens, George, High Class, Jack Youngblood, Gibbs, Lenny, Mark Youngblood, Phil Chaplin, Rotorius, Simon Says, Taco, and guests. Wow, we got 4 guests, Carol, Hank, Rolf, and Sarah. This is Arnie, and we're going to have a fantastic show today, or at least I hope so. We're going to start out talking about some news, and we're going to do something a little different today, okay? So what I'm going to do is give me about a couple minutes sort of lean in here a little bit. And let's see, George is not sure he's live. Well, I hope you are alive, George. I'm going to post my number on the chat room right now. And so you know I'm live too, George, because I see what you're saying. And we're going to have some call-ins. But first, let's talk a little bit of baseball. And when you call in this morning, we can talk about anything. We can talk about teams. We can talk about players. I'm going to play a little game with you when you call in. I'm going to give you a choice between 2 players. And we're going to see who picks correctly, chat room. How about that? The chat room is the judge and the jury. I'm going to have the conversation with the caller. But before we get into that, Chris Sale. Yeah, Chris Sale. He resumed throwing in the last few days. You know, he was shut down during spring with that flexor tendon strain. He has begun a throwing program. And it is believed that the ace left-hander of the Boston Red Sox may not need to undergo surgery as long as he doesn't feel discomfort during his progression. Now, we know he's 30. We know he's got that hunky-junky kind of delivery, right? And we know that there's a delay to the start of the 2020 season. All those are known facts. So now with the delay and depending on his progression, can't you just imagine Chris Sale coming back after... Good morning, Phil Chaplin. It's good to see you in the chat room, Chappie. Can't you just see Chris Sale coming back around the start of the season now that it's probably going to be Memorial Day or after and just turning it on? I don't know. Maybe you disagree with that. Now, it all depends on how he progresses during his throwing program. But I think what we got to do is look for that silver lining in these dark clouds. There's no baseball. That's the dark cloud. The silver lining is, think about the players who now may be able to perform and have a truly great season. And I heard this conversation going on last night. Tuesday night rather, Phil Chaplin, because it's Thursday morning now, not Wednesday. I haven't been sleeping much. Okay, here we go. Phil Chaplin talked about Ohtani. And Los Angeles Angels starting pitcher, designated hitter, Shohei Ohtani, probably will be available to start pitching when the season starts. This is a report from yesterday. Joe Madden told reporters that is now a possibility that whenever the regular season starts, Ohtani may be doing it too, as a pitcher. Ohtani continues to throw bullpen sessions. You know, he had Tommy John last May. And with the season starting late, Ohtani is yet another player who simply benefits from the delay. Phil Chaplin said he's got a man crush on Shohei Ohtani. I thought you had a man crush on me, Chappie. Okay, but we'll move along to Ohtani. You know, here's the thing. Look at his ADP. I've looked in some publications, it's around 120. In others, it's around 100. So I'll start off my OR game with you this morning, and we're going to take calls starting now. Call in if you'd like, 919-922-9093. So here is an OR question. Shohei Ohtani or Yordan Alvarez? If you're drafting today, Shohei Ohtani or Yordan Alvarez. And I want to hear from you, chat room, and I want you to call me. Don't be afraid. It'll be nice. It'll be pleasant. It'll be sunshine, as Andrea said, on a cloudy day. I think that's who said that, right? You know, that should be a song, right? I've got sunshine. You know how it goes. So, What do you think? Phil Chaplin says Shohei Ohtani. Jack Youngblood says Shohei Ohtani. George says, give me Yordan Alvarez. Let's talk about it for a moment. Yordan Alvarez. If you could extrapolate numbers over the course of a season, then looking at last year, how many home runs could Yordan Alvarez have hit? 50? Sure. How many will he hit this year? Well, the one problem, Taco, and I'm not disagreeing with your answer, the one problem with Alvarez, and the same thing could apply to Shohei Ohtani, is we already see, Andrea says neither, we already see Alvarez with barking knees. Before the season ever starts, he's having to rest during spring training. I'm staying away from the Yordan Eloy conversation, or at least I'm trying to, because that conversation has already been had. I'm talking Yordan and Ohtani. Okay, so we know Yordan Alvarez has, George, I love it, has extreme power, extreme hit tool. Came up last year, about a third of the season gone, and just put up monster numbers. And he's a monster at the plate. Shohei Ohtani not only now will be hitting all year, but it looks like he'll be pitching all year. I like Ohtani as one of the top 10 or 15 starters, pitching-wise, in all of Major League Baseball. He's got a good bat, he's got power, and he's going to steal 10 bases or more. And that is a factor in when you are evaluating players in your draft. And I bring these two players up to say this. If you look at average draft positions, there's no question who you should pick. It would be Yordan Alvarez. But this is why you should chart your own players. You should put your players on your board, rank them ahead of time. And so when you get to that position where Yordan Alvarez is sitting there on a silver platter and you go down 60 spots and you see Shohei Ohtani, how close are these guys? How close are they? Everybody keeps talking about Eloy, so let's talk about Eloy in just a moment, okay? But right now, between Alvarez and Ohtani, I'm getting Alvarez from some of you. I'm getting Shohei Ohtani from some of you. So let's go there, all right? Eloy Jimenez or Shohei Ohtani. I didn't go right where you thought I would. You brought him up. I'm going to talk about him. Eloy Jimenez, 35 home run potential easily, maybe 40. He's going to strike out some. But remember last year coming into the season, you had Eloy Jimenez as the second-rated prospect in all of Major League Baseball, only behind Vladdy Jr., and he did not disappoint. I think Eloy is a 280 hitter. I think Eloy hits 35. I think Eloy drives in 95. I would go a little higher. I'm just not so convinced yet about that White Sox lineup. They strike out a ton. He's not going to steal you any bags. He's going to get at bats as a DH. So he's going to be in that lineup, barring some injury, on a regular basis. Now, I've already talked about Ohtani. So tell me, guys, do you like Ohtani or do you like Eloy Jimenez? One thing about Ohtani as a hitter is you have to lock him into your utility because he doesn't play in the field other than when he pitches. And there's no batting slot for a pitcher. So we're stuck with that utility. So that kind of limits your team in maneuverability. Phil Chaplin still likes Shohei better than Eloy. I'm going to give you a tough one in a minute then, Chappie, okay? Get ready. You guys call in, 919-922-9093. Let's talk about players and where we're going to draft them this year. So let's keep going. So I've got one vote for Eloy. I've got one vote for Ohtani. Now Jack Youngblood says Ohtani. Chappie says in Daily Moves he's gold. Ohtani, I think, may be, I keep bringing him up because I think he may be the hidden jewel in the draft. I'm going to go out and say I think Shohei Ohtani is a third-round pick. I really do. And I look at guys being picked in the third round, and just because we're having the discussion, and just because some of you are picking Ohtani over Eloy, and some of you are picking Ohtani over Alvarez, tells you that he's a good player. We got a caller on the line. Let's see what we got here. I believe I know who this is, but good morning, caller.
Well, let's see how it's done, okay? Hopefully we'll set an example and show everybody how to do it. It's pretty simple. I learned how to dial a phone, and that's what I'm doing. Good morning to you. This is Lenny from Long Island.
Lenny from Long Island. This is Arnie from North Carolina, the great state of. And it's good to hear from you. And, oh, by the way, great show at 9 o'clock this morning. Really.
Well, I was a little off my rocker today. I mean, I'm telling you what, it's very tiring doing nothing. When you get into the lull stage and you're just lolling around, usually I sit behind my desk. I don't do anything except study baseball. Now I got no baseball, but so now I'm calling you. I'm seeing the way the National Football League is handling this thing, Arnie. And you got trades and you got free agent signings. In your opinion, don't you think it would be better for Major League Baseball to just play it like if it was the winter meetings and start trading players and and keep the free agent, maybe even if you have to change the rules a little bit? What do you think? Don't you think the National Football League's doing a great job?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, you think about there's nothing going on sports-wise except for our network and then the rest of the jacklegs, but you've got all the talk about free agent signings. Where was Brady going? I mean, that was news of the day. And let's take Yasiel Puig. Not maybe the star he used to be, but he's a free agent. How interesting would it be if teams started talking about, hey, we might be interested in Puig? That would be front page news. And
that's fantastic.
I just think there are players out there. And you mentioned Mountcastle this morning, and I thought about the Orioles getting ready for this show. The Orioles, they're playing with house money because they're such a bad team, but they've got a lot of good young talent. And, to get on there and let's hype some of these young players. But I just don't see Major League Baseball. All I hear them talk about is, oh, yeah, we're delayed. We don't know when we're going to start. You will get a few blurbs on players working out, like Chris Sale or Ohtani, the throwing program. But the NFL market's so much better. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and speaking of marketing, as I mentioned on my show, and I know people can't be listening to this nonsense all day long, but I would love to see a game. I don't care if there's any people in the stands, which would make a big difference. But if all the players and the umpires and the managers were all mic'd, there's no way I wouldn't tune into those games, right?
I mean, even a wiffle ball game, like an exhibition. and remember they used to have the TV show, the Battle of the Network Stars?
That's right.
And I'm thinking about, great point, I'm thinking about, what if Major League Baseball would do Battle of the Major League Stars? You wouldn't have to have more than, 8 players, split them onto 2 teams, do some hitting drills, do some throwing drills. I would tune in. I mean, there's nothing else to watch. So get your Mike Trouts and get your Ohtanis and get your guys we're talking about. Put them out there once a week. Can you imagine the ratings? I think it would go through the roof.
So I'm listening to, and I feel, the guys who talk of like you and me, who talk about fantasy baseball, we have things to talk about. We can talk about drafts and labor and tout wars and your own draft and players and rankings. I'm listening to a show on MLB with Ryan Spilsborg and Trevor Bauer. They were talking about what player has the best hair. With that, you do a great job. Thanks for letting me on the air.